joined by Coach Miller. We'll start with questions for Coach Miller. Justin Spears, Arizona Daily Star. Justin.
Coach, not the result that you wanted to end the season, but just looking back, how would you assess the entire year and then a game like tonight where your guys kind of never really gave up over the course of the game?
Well, Justin, I'll just share with you what I said to our team after the game, and that is, this is the 17th team that I've had as a head coach, and I've never been prouder of a group of guys than I am of this year's team. We entered the year with 10 new players. The 3 returners that played in games a year ago were Christian Coloco, Ira Lee, and Jamal Baker. And unfortunately for both Jamal and our team, we lost Jamal to the season-ending injury. So if you think about it, in a sense, the 12 guys that we have on our roster, 10 of them didn't play in the game for us. Throw in COVID and how hard that's been on every team. And certainly we've had some good fortune. But to never get shut down one time from the first day of school to the last game of our season, I think you have to give the players a lot of credit. You're not going to be able to do that unless they're disciplined and following the protocols that were set forth. And, we had 80 practices. I can't really think of a single moment. You always have certain practices that are better than others, but this is a group of guys that really gave us everything. And really the same thing this season. We chose to play a non-conference season, A, for safety, and then, B, knowing that maybe we would have a chance to schedule down the road. But 11-9 in the Pac-12 and 17-9, you always want to do better. But I have the peace of mind that we battled hard in all 26 games. And the fact that we sit here with 17 wins, I can make a strong argument that it could have been a lot worse based on where we were in August. The last point just with this year's team is just the future. I believe that the last 3 teams, we've not returned a single starter from the previous year. And there's reasons for that. I'm the head coach and I understand all of them. But that's not to your advantage to be successful. I think for the first time in that 4-year stretch, you were poised to return a lion's share of this year's team, to bring in a new group in addition to that. And instead of replacing 5 starters, that experience, my hope is more towards our advantage. So it's always weird when the year ends, but when it ends here in Eugene, Oregon, and you're not in the Pac-12 tournament, there's not a single player in our locker room that was here or had anything to do with why we're not playing in this tournament. And, my heart really goes out to them. It's not been easy, but they and we have really, I think, done a great job of getting all the way to the end. And now it's so much more about where we go from this point forward. So was kind of the words that I shared with our team. The 2 true seniors that we lose, Ira Lee and Matt Weand, both of those guys are great kids. They were here for 4 years, certainly grew up a lot during that time, and really will be sad to see them leave us.
And so does that mean that Terrell Brown is coming back next year?
I would like to tell you everybody or this guy's coming back and this guy isn't, but I think you know what I'm going to say. In the next couple of weeks, we'll make sure that we have our meetings with each player. They're all able to come back. But I think the lion's share will, but that's really up to them. I've never really told a player what to do, how to do it. We give them our opinion, but I think I have a pretty good sense of who's going to come back. And I think it's exciting to think about, maybe not at this very moment here as the year ends, but as we move forward.
But with this year and no postseason and the guys, sticking all the way until the end, what do you think this group showed that what it can accomplish in the following season?
Well, I believe that we can return back to the top of the mountain. And, it doesn't happen overnight, but When I came here 12 years ago, I know that's a long, long time ago. The 2 previous seasons before I ever showed up here as the new Arizona coach, and I think I was the 4th coach in 4 years. Arizona's record in the Pac-10 was 17-19. In the first 2 years with us in the Pac-10, we went 24-12, and then you kind of rebuilt and we sustained excellence. And right now, 11-9 isn't what anyone wants to sign up for moving forward. But I do think it's a great bridge from a lot of things that have happened to a promising future. And we have some very good young players. We have some guys that are able to return that had outstanding seasons. And now we just have to meet with them. And then the other part of it is we have to recruit at a level and with an effort level and an intensity that we've been at for a long, long time around here. And I think that's the second part of this. Playing Oregon is a very, very good team. You have to realize between the 2 COVID shutdowns they just had to survive for a period of time. But that team that we just played can make a big run in the NCAA tournament. And between USC, UCLA, and Colorado and Oregon, those are all really good teams in the Pac-12 that I think will make us really proud in the postseason. I mean, I'm pulling for all of them, but this team, Oregon, Chris Duarte, make sure you guys write that name down. He's really, really good. He's gonna go on and do some great things when he leaves Oregon.
Bruce Pasco, you're next, Bruce.
A lot of definite talk about the future. Does that? I assume that means, or does that mean for sure no game? I hate to keep asking you this, but I mean that non-conference thing.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Bruce, I don't think it's going to be a possibility between these other teams in their conference tournament, and as we've started to explore, even playing next week. I mean, it's just so hard on our guys to have to extend it for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days for what? I think there's a time where we all have to kind of take our ball and go home. And I think now's that time for us.
Okay. And again, because you are talking a lot about the future, uncertainty with you, 1 year left in your contract, like Brian asked you last week, do you expect to get an extension or at least have this resolved one way or another, or what could happen?
Bruce, I don't expect anything. I know that now that the season's over, I'm going to have the opportunity to talk to Dr. Robbins and Dave Hickey, and I look forward to having that opportunity to do that. When that time happens, I think that I'll certainly know a lot more.
Okay, and one final thing, just about the game tonight. You mentioned Oregon being what they are. What was the difference tonight? They out-rebounded you again. You haven't had that happen much this year. Was that a lot of it, or some of the early turnovers, the way they played against Azulis early? What kind of jumped out at you?
Well, first of all, I think we have to look and say how did we play? Again, we played single-digit turnovers, kind of unique in that we had 8 in the first half and only 1 in the second half. But when you play against Oregon and you can play with single-digit turnovers, I mean that is a really, really good thing. Offensively, we did a lot of excellent things. I mean, we were 45% from the field, 35% from 3. Again, we didn't make as many free throws. We got there 19 times, but 9 turnovers. The thing that they've done in both games against us is they manhandle us on the rebounding part of things, and that's a real credit to their team. They are a bigger team than you think. They don't have necessarily like 6'10" or 7 foot in the game at all times, but their wings and their guards are big, and those guys are men. They're older, they're experienced, and then even Will Richardson as their point guard, he's 6'5". They're good. They are a better team than us, and for us to beat them on their court, not only would we have had to play a great game, and I thought we were solid, but they would have had to be a little off. And the way they shoot the ball, I mean, it's hard to beat them when they shoot it like they did against us.
All right, thanks.
Alec White, Arizona Daily Star, you're next.
Even with the loss tonight, is it accurate to say that you guys closed the season strong, just given the wins against Washington and then beating USC a couple weeks ago, winning 3 out of the last 4?
I mean, I think so, Alec. I think you just have to look at it bigger than that. I'll go back to the Colorado game. That was a real moment of truth for our team because I would say of all the games that we played this year, maybe our poorest performance was at Utah. And, we were up there on that trip and man, we really bounced back and, played a great game there, had a chance to win, didn't. Um, and then I just feel like from that point on, Oregon at home, it's another game that we didn't win, but man, we played, we were right there, had a chance. And then, playing at UCLA late in the year, playing at Oregon with the team that we have, we're going to have to play a great, great game to win. We did that against SC, but I just feel like our guys every day from the beginning to the end tried hard. We're not perfect. We make a lot of young mistakes. Sometimes you feel it, like on drives against our freshmen, they just don't have enough resistance on defense. But I couldn't, like I said earlier, be more proud of a group of guys. The other thing is James Akinjo. I don't think everybody truly knows what an outstanding season he really had. I mean, again, he had 19 points, 8 assists, 2 turnovers. He's probably going to end up leading the Pac-12 in assists, leading our team in scoring. His 3-point shooting now is close to 40%. I mean, he was just outstanding. And I believe he'll be an all Pac-12 performer. You have Ben and Azulis that I think are right there to be on the all freshman team. Christian Coloco clearly at times looked like an all defensive performer. And, Jordan Brown doesn't start, but can make a statement that he could certainly be in consideration for a 6th man of the year. I mean, we had a lot of guys play. And then, Kerr, you just have to recognize how difficult it is to be eligible with like 6 or 7 games left in the year. Coming from a different country, being a freshman. And I think it's fairly obvious when you watch a guy like him play, he has a bright future as well. And I was just really pleased with him. And, we've recognized Terrell Brown. Terrell is a great kid. And we'll see as we talk to him about what his future is. And Dalen, I don't want to forget Dalen because, Dalen is that kind of that unsung player in our program. He just works at it every day. I think 2 of our biggest wins this year at Arizona State and at USC, we would not have won either game if Dalen Terry didn't play the way he did. And again, he's somebody that I really enjoyed coaching.
Steve Rivera. Steve?
Yeah, Sean, a few days ago, I asked you about your thoughts on how difficult the year was, and you talked about how proud you were of the kids being really resilient. I'm curious, on a personal level, how was it for you, given COVID, no postseason, stuff like that?
Well, Steve, our coaching staff, we have a very, very good coaching staff. And as you guys know, covering us, our coaching staff extends beyond just the assistant coaches and myself. Our trainer, Justin Kokoski, I mean, he slept at McHale, 25 days this year, maybe more, just because of how far he lives, Oro Valley, from McHale, and what he needed to do as early as 5:30 in the morning. Chris Rounds, our strength coach, David Miller, Ryan Reynolds. I mean, we have a great group. So I think I tip my hat to them because it hasn't been easy. For me, I just got my head down and really just trying to do the best that I can leading and really looking forward to hopefully an opportunity to get us back on top of the mountain. We were there, and when you've been there and you're off of it, you sometimes have a real hunger to get back there. And, hopefully that day will come.
Thanks.
Jay Gonzalez, Fox Sports Tucson. Jay?
Sean, as a head coach at the beginning of the year, do you set sort of what you think would have to happen for a season to be considered a success? Is it a number of wins? This year you didn't have the tournament, but is it, getting to a certain spot in the tournament? How do you decide what you think is going to be a successful season at the beginning, and then whatever that was, where do you think you guys fell?
You learn more as the season goes on. At the beginning, it's so much about a process, of just doing things right, doing things the best that we can, daily, weekly, monthly, preparing, learning more about your team. In our case, that was really important because we had so many new faces. But, when Jamal Baker was lost for the year, you have to remember Jamal was on track to be an all-conference player. He had 31 points in the game, and he clearly was our most experienced player. That stretch where he was out and Kerr was not eligible, I really worried about us being able to survive, and we did. But, near the end, I think we got to about where I hoped we could have been, being greedy, maybe just one of those other games bouncing our way and maybe ending 12-8, 18-9, 18-8. But, I'll probably have a better sense over the next month when you kind of reflect back. But we clearly were up against it for a lot of reasons. And, hopefully we were able to solidify a number of things moving forward so we're not as vulnerable as maybe we would have been 12 months ago.
Over the course of the season, a number of times you've said how much you enjoy this team. And, we can see it on your face in news conferences and stuff like that. Maybe not so much in the timeouts, but are you willing to rate how much you enjoyed coaching this team versus, some of the other teams? I know there's probably been some really frustrating years too. Just your overall enjoyment of the team.
Well, I think every coach, you would like to have the sense that the talent level, the experience, who you have, what you're capable of doing, that you get as close to that ceiling as you can. There's a number of years where I might not have appeared to be enjoying it, and maybe that's on me. But, the bullseye was right there. You're trying to win the national championship, so every day, every game, it's not that you walk around tight, but look, expectations and kind of who you are, and if you're playing at your best, you could go all the way to the beginning of April. With this year's team, there's so much unknown. Again, I think if you have as much turnover as we have, and again, what I said was we've not had a returning starter in 3 seasons. And this year to have 10 new guys of the 12, especially when a lot of these guys are freshmen, you just don't really know. And you throw COVID on top of it. I just really proud of the group, of how hard they worked. And I really think we became a good team. You can ask the other coaches. I don't think anybody saw us coming and was licking their chops, that they knew they were in for a tough game. And sometimes we really played well and sometimes we didn't, but our intent was very good.
Ryan Kellop here, Arizona Desert Swarm. Ryan?
You guys finished with a top 20 offense, but you struggled defensively this year. Would you kind of chalk that up to experience, or what do you kind of see as the keys to improving in that area moving forward?
Well, you're right. There's 2 sides to that coin. I'm very proud of our offense. I thought even tonight we had some looks in the second half that didn't drop. Again, you're playing 3 games in 5 days. We went from a 9 p.m. game where our guys left the building at midnight, and we went to a 12 noon game on senior day, to flying up here the next day and playing this group. I know Oregon is on quite a task themselves, but for our group, based on where we are physically, I think some of the second half was a function of us just being out of juice, But our offense, we did a lot of great things on offense with such a young group. Defensively, you're right. I wish we were better. If we were, instead of being 11-9, we would be 13-7. We lost games with our defense and we won games with our offense. Some of it is youth, some of it is inexperience. Some of it is some of the players that we have are more talented on offense than they are on defense. And we have to fix that. We can do that through recruiting. We can do that through the weight room, maturation, experience. And then, always you're trying to reflect on what we can do better in terms of the scheme, in terms of our tactical part of things. So we'll take a look at all that. But I think that we'll be a much better defensive team moving forward.
Time for one more. Go back to Bruce Pasco. Bruce?
John, just wondering, in case we don't get with you for a while, because with all the off season coming up, I was wondering, assuming things are going forward, where do you want to go recruiting wise? You got those 3 guards coming in. Are you looking to add a big guy, or what else do you, obviously won't be as busy as some of your springs have been, but what do you expect to try and get?
Well, first we have to just determine, Bruce, how many scholarships we have. And the next 2 weeks or so, meeting with each of our players, getting a good sense, making sure that we're clear and we're on the same page with each of them moving forward. Then we'll have a better idea. But, we don't have a lot of scholarships. I could see us potentially taking 1 player in the spring, and that will depend on how our returning roster looks. I can't imagine us taking more than 2 because we have 3 incoming freshmen coming in. We're really excited about all 3 of them. So you're right. It won't be nearly as busy as maybe the last 4 springs. But we'll know more about that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right. That's all time for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. See you.